something that is inherent.
Okay.
I'm talking about something that is so foundational to being alive that it is not removable. Now, it can be blocked, it can be challenged, we can do weird things with it, but it's your heartbeat, your heart beating without your intention. That is the trust I'm talking about. That when you inhale, there is oxygen there to inhale. That the fact that we live on a planet that just happens to grow the food that we need in order to sustain ourselves. The evidence, I mean, if we're just going to look at evidence, like, well, my parents really didn't give me very good attention. Like the evidence for well-being versus the evidence for not well-being. The evidence for well-being is like all the things. And the evidence for not well-being are the couple things you can remember from childhood. There's all day long there's well-being. All day long, people, insane people, mind you, people who are not well in their minds, not well in their hearts, people who are enraged, are driving inches away from each other, 80 miles an hour, and they are not smashing into each other. That is a freaking miracle. Why is that? You think that those people that are driving on I-35 next to you are not having homicidal thoughts? Guarantee you they do. They do have homicidal thoughts, they have suicidal thoughts, but the amount of well-being, it makes it nothing. Those thoughts, that negativity, that anger, the pain that they're experiencing, the rage that they're experiencing, it's tiny in comparison to the well-being. The well-being is immense. The well-being is the planets spinning in perfect rhythm and harmony, and plants connecting with stars so that the mushrooms grow in the full moon. It's such a level of intricacy and perfection and design that is there in our own biology, that is there in our own relationship. The fact that my endocrine system responds just because this human being is within 2 feet of me. What is that? That is brilliant design. That my endocrine system, the precise, miraculous secretion of hormones in my system that govern every single thing that my body is doing, that is governing my cell regeneration and my food digestion, that all of that, every aspect of my system is receiving the benefit just because this person is within 2 feet of me. So well-being is predominant. Well-being is not fuckable with. It's immense and indestructible. It is the ultimate. But it doesn't feel like that all the time. Not fuckable with, yeah. Underline. All caps, exclamation. Yeah, and then we have these experiences, like you pointed out. Yours is a little bit different. We'll get to that in a minute. We have experiences that are different than that experience. We have an experience that's like, I don't know if that fits. I thought I could count on everything. I thought the air and the lungs and the food when I cried and the loving arms and the proximity, I thought it was all good, but then I had this experience and now I'm not so sure. Whether that's intellectually, whether you're old enough to think those thoughts or it's a physical experience. Something happens that's in opposition to our total trust and well-being. And I got to bring this back full circle to this human potential because that's what I'm super into right now. This well-being, built into that well-being is our own expansion. Built into the well-being is the desire for more well-being and to be a part of that more well-being. Like these little kids that want to build a sandcastle. That is the desire to build more well-being. When you have a creative spark, the way that, I have a mom, so I bring everything back to children. I know it's annoying, but just bear with me. The way that my children will bring me art, like it's a sacrament. Like they're bringing like for you, mommy. I made this for you, mommy. That extension of well-being, that's what that is. It's innate. That I want to contribute. The goodness that I see, I want to make more. I want to give to the goodness that I see. I see my mommy is good and my mommy loves me and she may as well be God because she provides absolutely everything that I need, and I want to give to that. We build temples for this reason. We build temples for the goodness that we feel. We build churches for other reasons as well, but we have this in us innately. We want to make art. We want to make more babies. Why do we want to make more babies? This world is crazy. We want to make more babies because we want to more. We like it. We like this life thing and we want to make more of it. We want to give more to it. We have this feeling like we can do that. We have that power. That what we are is that by nature. That what we are in our own nature is an expansion of that goodness. We came here to be an expansion of that goodness. So we have that experience. I came here to be an experience. It's great here. All my needs will be met, and I came here to be an expansion of what is already. And then something happens. Mostly when people talk about human potential, they talk about it over here. And then when they talk about trauma, they talk about it over here. Like, this is the shitty things, and we're going to learn a lot about the shitty things, and we're going to talk about like how the neuroses that come and the coping mechanisms and the ways that we deal with how shitty, like, we're going to study that. And then the people over here who are talking about potential, a lot of times they're like, let's not talk about that. That doesn't help. A lot of the law of attraction community is like, let's not look over there, because if I look over there, it makes me feel bad. And if I feel bad, then I can't create what I want to create. I can't be who I want to be. There's a problem though, right? There's a problem because the potential over here that's like, more good, more good, more good. That potential is medicine for the trauma. It's medicinal. Because, and there is creative power in the trauma. I'm going to talk in circles a little bit today because this isn't canned. This isn't the talk I've had before. So something happens, and it's too much for our systems. Our system goes, big energy, kind of fries our wires a little bit. Our sympathetic nervous system does a little explosion, and if we're lucky and all is well around us, then we're guided to use that energy in service of that potential, of that desire to be more, to give more, to go deeper. And our understanding of well-being is deepened. And when that happens, we're more resilient, we're more compassionate, we're kinder, we're wiser. We have a closer relationship with well-being. You can replace well-being with God or self if you like, or earth, or whatever you're into. I'm into all of it personally. Goodness. Yeah. And so it's not an accident that we have these experiences that are outside of our previous understanding of well-being. It's not that something went wrong. It's not. It's part of the well-being design. How do you create more if it's just the same? You got to go into a new area. And that's what that is. It's like the well-being, all is well. And then there's also bee stings. And we're going to include bee stings now in our well-being. And what do we know about bees? Everything that we know about bees, and how that now gets to be included in well-being. And it adds to our potential. But that's what happens sometimes. And that's how it actually happens the majority of the time. Most of your traumas, you don't think of them as traumas. You think about them as life experience. That's what we call the trauma that gets integrated. And I feel like we could probably just delete the word trauma altogether. I use it because people know what it they have a relationship with the word, but really we could just call it important life experiences. We could call it expansive life experiences. So this thing happens, and then it gets integrated, and then we're wiser and we're deeper and we're more compassionate, and we know our own selves better and we know our world better. Or it doesn't get integrated and it gets stored for later. And this is when the funny business happens, because that part of you just keeps vibrating wherever you left it. It keeps generating wherever you left it. It's doing whatever it was doing. That aspect of you is just going to do what it was doing in that moment until it gets integrated. And the way that we interact with that aspect of ourself, because now we've got two of ourselves inside of ourselves, so now we've got some interrelational dynamics to work with. And that starts to build up funny things, right? Because we don't really like that part of ourselves that's always needing something that can never seem to be satisfied. Think about, that's kind of the classic anxious attachment style. The little child in us that just wants mommy to love her and will not be satisfied until that happens, and plays that out in every relationship. We don't like that part of ourselves because we know we're here to expand and to give more and to contribute, and that doesn't feel like that. Needing mommy to do something when we're 40 years old doesn't feel like I'm living my purpose and I'm here who I'm meant to be. We don't want to associate with that because it doesn't feel like who we are. And it goes back to what I was saying before. It's like law of attraction style over here, consciously creating my world, versus wound over here that I don't really want to touch. That internal dynamic is problematic because what actually happens when you can go in and you meet that child, there's power there. The same power that would have been there from the beginning. There's wisdom. There's compassion, there's depth. The sense of well-being is now bigger than it was before. I want to point out that the sense of well-being is bigger than it was before the trauma. And another way to say this is like, I'm just going to get crazy with you. You're better off having experienced the trauma. That's what I'm trying to say here. You're better off that your mom was shitty. That's a win. Like, go you for having a shitty mom. That's a win. Because that translates to you getting to be who you want to be. Eventually. At some point. That builds resiliency. That builds the compassion. That builds the love. That builds capacity. Most of us can get on this boat to a certain degree, because we're like, yeah, there was that time that I got into a bicycle accident. It was really transformational for me. But then there's the other areas where it's like, no, it is wrong that this is happening. It is wrong that this happened. And I will not be happy or well or receive what I want to receive or be who I want to be until I have punished everyone for it. I'm going to make sure that I'm never happy so that my dad really knows that he ruined me forever. So we have this internal dynamic where we're not so into all the aspects of who we are, so we avoid them. And then sometimes we don't avoid them, and then we dive into, all right, I'm going to work this shit out. I'm going to dive in, and I'm going to feel it. I'm going to feel the abandonment all the way down to my toes. And we just sit in it. And has anybody ever done a deep dive into personal development that just makes you feel like shit for months? Where you're just like, I'm so depressed. And it sort of spirals. And you're like, I was really happy when I started this, which is why I started. I was going to like take myself to the next level. And you've just been reliving this stuff. And now you're just like, oh, it's way worse than I thought I was. That's what you're saying. It's way worse. Now I realize how bad it actually was. So what happens in that is that that part of yourself has a gravitational pull. That 3-year-old, it's not like well-resourced, happy, adult, wise self touches on 3-year-old and is like, I love you. You have what you need now. Come with me and be an adult. That's not what happens most of the time. What actually happens is we're like, hello, 3-year-old. We get sucked into the 3-year-old vortex, and now we're 3 years old. And 3 years old can't do anything but relive that moment. And so now they're like, now I see it. That's exactly what I'm doing with my partner. That's exactly what I'm doing in my business. See, he's abandoning me. She's abandoning me. And we see the pattern, and it looks like we're being productive somehow because it's self-awareness, right? But it's not self-awareness. It's just looking at your life through the view of a traumatized 3-year-old. Because it has a lot of power there. It has potential there. There's consciousness that creates inside of that little compartmentalized 3-year-old gremlin inside of us. That the only thing that's actually real and relevant to your system right now is what's happening right now. Your past does not create who you are today. You create your past today. It's the other way around. And you're creating the past that serves you. So we're going to get time loopy here, but all outcomes are the same outcome. So we can look at it like we curate traumas along the way so that we can expand our sense of well-being and grow and develop and be more than what we were. Or you could look at it like this is the only moment that's ever existed, and right now in this moment, I'm creating a traumatized past because I want to expand and I want to understand that. And I want to weave my understanding of that into love and into my experience of well-being. You're not delayed, you're doing it perfectly. You're utilizing your design perfectly, impeccably. You couldn't be doing it better. Because when we've got well-being over here, well-being is I'm creating, I'm desiring, and then I'm creating what I'm desiring, and I'm living my life, and it's glorious, and I'm offering it up as a service to God. And as you're doing that, expansion is required. Again, we can look at it like on a linear time scale, like you've put the exact life experiences in place in your past that you would need in order for your next level of expansion. So you get to be like, oh, I bookmarked that. I'm going to go back there and I'm going to do a little study. I want the most glorious relationship that I could possibly have. That's what I want. And so you live into that. And then you have an experience that you're like, oh, wait, there's something off here. What do I know about this? Let me go back. Let me extract that energy that I stored back there on that subject matter that's really important to me and reintegrate that and clear that. But you wouldn't care about, who cares about this if you're not over there? Like, who cares about what happened if you don't have a beautiful, brilliant desire? The only thing that would make it more enjoyable is if you don't lose sight of the desire when you get reminded that there's something over here that might be worth looking at. If you maintain your joy and that you're on the right track and that you're beautiful, wanting what you want, and that you're moving in that direction and that it's coming to you closer and closer every minute, and that you've done everything right and you're still doing everything right and you are generating that in you, and then you're like, oh, there's this other piece. I'm going to bring all of that love and that forgiveness for myself and that wanting of good things. I'm going to bring that in as medicine versus that's why I don't have it. And as a practitioner, basically what you're doing is you're integrating them into your well-being. Your well-being is so boss that everything is included in your well-being, including their rape. It doesn't have to be included in their well-being. That's what they're paying you for. They asked for you. They said that they were not able to do that. They said, my well-being can't hold this. And then you said, my well-being can. And that's what creates the integration. And that's, again, it's so brilliant that we're sitting 2 feet apart and my nervous system knows it and changes its hormones accordingly. And this is a really good leadership training information. If you can hold well-being in the face of somebody else's terror, you suddenly become a trustworthy person. If you can look at somebody and say, I see it, I get it, I feel it, what you're experiencing is real, and I'm not scared. I'm not scared for you. You're staying in homeostasis, that dominates.
And you're still fully empathetic.
Yes. And their system will respond in kind. Now, of course, like the nuances of how you approach and how you do this tactically, that's a lot. But the point that I want to make, and really the purpose of this conversation, is that this paradigm, which probably you all already adopt to a degree, but if you get really like evangelical about this paradigm internally, I don't even know what the word evangelical means. Actually, passionate. Yes, passionate. Committed. That's what I'm trying to say. If you get committed about this paradigm, your practices change. The tactics, the nuance of like how you start a session, how you close a session, the modalities that you use, and the way you think about the modalities, they change. They will line up with the modality. You can do something like EFT from a place of fixing people all day long, and they will need you for the rest of their lives. And maybe they'll even keep coming, and you'll attract clients that are into that kind of thing. You can take any modality and twist it into whatever world you're living in.
With everything you've said,
mm-hmm.
Am I completely worthless to family members?
Yes, totally, completely useless to family members. I mean, here's what I would say, is that if you happen to be in the kitchen at the same time and somebody's complaining and like the love of God pours down through your mind and words of grace spill out of your mouth, right on. Like, bless it and like listen to it and be in gratitude that happened. But don't be like, all right, well, have a seat. Let's open this up. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you're so invested. And this is really the boundary, I would say, across the board with working with friends, is that if you can, okay, let me find the right words. It's like not very nice words, but they're the right ones. If you cannot care how it goes, then they're probably okay for you to work with. Like, if you can not care if they work it out or don't work it out.
Not be attached would be a better.
No, I actually mean not care. Because if you care about that, then there's a mistrust. It's bad if it goes this way, it's good if it goes this way, versus it's all good.
Okay, it's all good. You gotta have it's all good.
Yeah.
Disposition.
And the care doesn't come from wanting, like, let's fix, like, better. Let's have it be better. The care comes from, like, I want to connect with you. Like, I'm feeling wonderful and you're feeling shitty. I want to connect with you. And I know really specific tactics to do that in such a way that's going to give you a result really predictably. But what I care about, where I'm emotionally invested, is in being who I want to be in the company of my client.